Okay, so can you just say like your name and then how you know me?
Ooh, okay. Like originally?
Yeah, like when did we meet?
Okay. I'm Suzanne Prendergast. I first met Meg, was it sophomore year through Taylor Dunn and Obi.
Okay. So, what was your first impression of me when you met me?
I thought you were really bubbly and outgoing and you were really funny. And the first time that I actually saw like your true colors come through was when I had a fight with Andrew, and I somehow ended up on your floor hysterically crying, and you were comforting me and providing me with advice, and you didn't even really know
What a night.
me.
Um,
Literally.
um, how would you say like that impression of me? So like we weren't even really friends then, like we barely knew each other. Um, how has like your impression of me changed from then to now?
Honestly, I don't really think it has. I feel like you're still like that person that like I can go to for like funny memes and Facebook videos, but also like if I had a fight with like my boyfriend or my family or something, like you're always the person that's like there to like pick up the pieces and like you're super loyal and I know that like you always see like my point of view, which is really nice to have in a friend.
Hmm. Um, if you had to describe me in three words, what would they be?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't want to say bubbly and outgoing because those are like obvious. Let me think. Okay, I think you're thoughtful, you're spontaneous, and you're creative.
Hmm. Okay,
What do you
why?
mean? Mhm.
Why? Why do you say those things?
Oh my god. Okay. Thoughtful because I think that you're always thinking of like other people's feelings and like you're always there for people when they're down, like I said, and just like when we lived together, you bought us all like going away, like personalized like Amazon presents, which like I thought was really sweet. And like I feel like you're very good at like sensing other people's feelings. So like if someone's having an off day or something, you're always like, oh, let's get a coffee, let's do this, let's do that. Like you always know how to like put people in a better mood. Spontaneous because I think that you're like really really fun and if there's like an idea that pops into your head, you're like, let's do it, let's do it, let's not think about it like we're young, like we're crazy, like whatever. Like I know that if I'm like, hey, like let's go out tonight, it's 9:30, like you'll always be like, okay, like why not? Like we'll go have fun. And then
Rumspringa.
yeah, exactly, Rumspringa. And then creative because you're like the best problem solver that I know. Like I can present you with like I have these items and I need you to make a raincoat and you would probably like be able to do it. Also, you like figure out our we and TV situation all the time, even though my house is like broken and the wires never make sense to me. And you do all that crazy stuff with like Photoshop and memes and I don't know, I just feel like you're one of those people that like nothing is like too big of a problem or like things that other people think are like unimaginable or can't be solved. Like you're like, oh, what are you talking about? Like it's not a big deal.
Mm. um, how would you say I handle so like you kind of touched on like with other people, I like am helpful in problematic situations, but how would you say I handle like problems I have that are like my own problems?
Okay. I think sometimes when you're hurt, you like hold it all in and then it comes out in one big event, which is like really similar to me. I'm not like judging that at all, but I think that you're very much the same way. And
What do you mean, like a random Tuesday?
yes, like hashtag Christine. Which like I do the same exact thing, TBT to when I tore down decorations in my living room. Um, and like how else? I think when you're sad, you like having people around you to like pick you back up. Like you'll be like, I'm feeling sad, and I'll be like, why? And you tell me, and then I sit there and gas you up, and you pretend like you don't like it, but I know you do.
What about like academic stuff? Or yeah,
Like,
keeping it
what's the
academic.
question?
Like, so that's like in like personal situations, but how about like I know we haven't had like classes together or anything, but like how would you say I handle like having a lot of schoolwork or like that
One
kind of
word.
thing?
Excel. Okay. No, I think you're like organized in a different way than Taylor and I. Like, you get your stuff done. You always know what your assignments are. You know when you have quizzes and stuff, but you're not like, I wouldn't say like you're super type A when it comes to like organization, but like you're still like really, really serious about school. And I think you're one of those people that like you may not like the traditional like, I'm trying to think, like, I think that you are one of the smartest people I know, but you're not smart from like textbooks in school. I think that you're smart from like your own experiences and like researching things that you're interested on your own, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Kind
I
of.
don't,
That's
I don't
really
know if I'm
nice. I
explaining it.
just don't know.
Like I feel like if I was like, hey, I'm really confused on this theory for my management class, like I'm not sure if I would be like, hey Meg, can you explain this like upper level theory? But if I was like, hey, I'm at like the mall right now and I'm trying to figure out like I don't know, like why this sale is happening or like what's going on in the economy or something, like you'd be able to like break it down in layman's terms, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm explaining it
I'm
right.
I'm very I think I'm like much more street savvy than like books.
Yes, yes, that's what I'm trying to say. But like, I'm not saying that you're bad at school because you're a really good student. But I think that you like enjoy non-academic settings, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. What about just stress in general? Like how would you say I deal? Well, first of all, like when's the time that you can remember me being like super stressed about something?
When you didn't have an internship last semester.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, you asked.
I'm just kidding.
Um, how did
Okay.
you deal with it? You throw yourself a pity party,
Mhm.
and like I said before, everyone gathers around you and hypes you up, and you like sniffle and pretend not to hear us. But I know that you're like mental note, like okay.
Okay, so
um,
walk me through my internship like as like my friend like going cuz I didn't get an internship until almost like middle of the summer.
like from my point of view, tell like your non-internship story.
Yeah, I just like how I was like handling
Okay.
that whole situation.
Okay, so you started out internship search season like everybody else. I think you might have even been like ahead of the game. And you were constantly like updating your resume, like sending me cover letters, like making sure that everything was like super polished. And for some reason that like I'll never understand, you probably don't, it just like didn't work out. And at first you were like not really concerned about it because you were like, it's fine, I'll find something. But then I think the stress of like other people that you knew finding really great internships finally got to you, and you started to like doubt yourself and your self-worth and like what you could actually like contribute to a company. And then you kind of went a little crazy and started applying to like 20 internships a week with that much thought. And then it just like, I don't know, you didn't get one before we left and you were really stressed and I was sad and like nobody else had one, so like we were trying to stay on the same boat. And then you finally got one because you decided that you were going to stay in like the New York, New Jersey area no matter what, and like you were gonna like put everything you had into getting an internship regardless of like what it took, and you finally got one.
What do you think like how did that like affect me at all like from your guys' view of like is this year different? Like I know we don't have class together so it's kind of but just like
Um,
so
yeah,
that
I
into
think
like the job search, I guess.
yeah, I think right now it's different just because it's so early, and I think your best friends aren't necessarily in like the Whitman industry where like people have been getting jobs since like August and September. Like I think that you're a little bit more relaxed knowing that like you're like me, Taylor and Jack, who are like in the social sciences, Obi, who's education, like we're not necessarily like a cutthroat group of friends where like we're constantly comparing like what jobs we have and that sort of thing. But I think second semester that'll probably happen to all of us, not just you.
Probably. Great.
Yeah.
Um okay, like back to like us, and our friendship. Um, what is like something I do? I already know the answer to this question. What's
Oh
something
god.
I do that just drives you crazy?
Wait, what is it? What do you think it is?
You tell me.
I'm curious what you think it is
I'll
now.
tell you what I think it is after you answer it.
Something has to do with what?
Which is something I do that drives you crazy.
You constantly say that you never see me when that's just simply false.
Okay, I'm needy.
What were you thinking?
Megan, was this your standard time?
Oh, wait, yeah, that's super annoying. That's so true, yeah. Yeah, you do. But I also steal your clothes, so I'm washing your sweater right now, too.
Oh, thank you. What about my shirt?
Yeah, I mean, I said I'm washing them. I don't know if I'll get them back to you, but... I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. I am.
What? Okay, so like just differently. Okay, because I think our friendship is like weird. It's different than if I like interviewed Taylor. Because like yeah, it's like we had mutual friends, but then abroad, I mean, we hung out a couple times there, but then we didn't really get close until like pretty late. So like living together last
Yeah.
spring. So what would you say like kind of in the spring? Like you already knew like I was nice or whatever, but like with living with me, like what is it about me or like characteristics about me that like made you decide or like to be like one of my close friends? Like when like can you think of like a moment when you were like
Oh, like a set moment?
or just something that you think about? I don't know.
I feel like you're one of the few people that I can spend like a lot of time with and not get annoyed. Like, I think about like the times where we would go like straight from spin to dinner to hanging out and then like even going to like a Whitman team room. Like we would be together like basically on and off from like when we got out of class until we went to bed. And like we would do that like multiple times a week. And I feel like I just like I had fun with you. Like we would laugh, but like we also knew like how to be serious, and like we just like related on like a bunch of different levels. And like I don't know, you didn't annoy me.
Didn't annoy you. Right.
I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna like save this forever and then play it when
I
you
hate
mention
you.
it. What's like okay, so like off that, like what's like one of your favorite memories that like of just like you and I?
Oh, that's so hard. Just you and I. Um, I had a lot of fun when we went to your formal. Well, I guess it's your semi that one night when we like coordinated our outfits and like we got all dressed up together and then we went to Benjamin's and like we just had a fun time. And I also had fun at my formal too. I don't know. Because I'm trying to think of like all of our memories are like in group settings. Like I was thinking like even your birthday or like Mayfest or like all the parties we had at Obi's, like that was never just like you and I, you know?
Yeah.
Like and I would say like spin, but like rip. I don't think spin was like enjoyable for everyone.
I don't think it was spin. I think it was like I think I would contribute like us getting closer anyway to like yeah, it's the amount of time that we spent together, but it was like it started with spin because it wasn't necessarily at spin, but it was like that was the time where like you and I were gonna get to walk for 10 minutes each way and chat, and then like we made dinner after. Like it was like mandatory time to like hang out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's true.
Okay, so thinking about me going into like a like the workforce of some kind, like what can you see me doing like with my life?
Meg, I don't know. That's so hard. I don't even know where I see myself. I see you doing something in the creative industry. I really do. I don't think that you're gonna be like a stiff like corporate worker crunching numbers on Excel. Like I think you're gonna work in an agency that allows you like a lot of creativity. Like maybe even be like an entrepreneur in like the company or something. Like they give you like a very loose rubric and then you come up with like a solution maybe. Like that's I don't know. I see you like definitely like in a big company, but not in like a traditional role. I know that's like super big. I'm not really sure doing what, but like maybe it will be advertising, maybe it'll be PR, maybe it'll be social media. Like I think something that doesn't really like have a ton of rules and like guidelines.
Yeah. What do you think like qualities that I could like contribute to a job like that? Like what are the just like top 3 like my strongest qualities going into the workforce?
Um, I think you're one of those people that like thinks on their feet and on the go. Like it doesn't matter what the situation or the scenario is. Like I was saying before, like you always come up with some sort of solution to a problem and you think outside the box. I also think that you're like super approachable and easygoing. So like you'd be able to contribute to like a team really well. Like people wouldn't be afraid to like hurt your feelings if they had an opinion that was different from theirs, and at the same time they wouldn't be afraid to like ask you questions about like your own ideas. And I think that you are just like very like happy and positive energy, which is like really key to like any sort of job, like keeping people satisfied and happy with like who they're going to be working with.
Perfect. Okay, what do I or can you see me doing poorly? Is there something I do poorly now besides being late?
Yeah, you're super late. Sometimes I think that you get super attached to like your own opinion or idea, and like when other people are like, I don't really know, you like are like, yes, 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 like has to be this way. I'm like, it's not like I'm smarter, I'm better, my idea is better than yours. It's like you get super, super passionate about something, and like I think sometimes you don't pick up on cues when people aren't like super into it.
Great.
You know you do that.
Yeah, I do. How would you say I like prioritize my responsibilities or like with hanging out like social time and all of that jazz?
Um, I definitely think that like school is the most important. Like you know why you're here, and it's like to get a good education. But you're one of those people that like if someone is important to you, like you'll make time for them. Whether it's like a 10-minute chat in Whitman, like we do for like 2 days a week, or if it's like getting dinner with someone, like you'll always make time for the people in your life that like matter to you.
Yeah.
I feel. I
um,
feel like we're on a date.
what'd you say?
I feel like we're on a date.
I know. I've said I'm gonna save this forever. The next time you're really mean to me, I'm gonna.
Shut up! I'm never mean to you.
How would you say I deal with people that I don't like?
I think that you like shut yourself out from them and like try to like just get rid of the negative energy.
Like with that, what like I guess so like in friendships I can see that I like like we've even talked about this lately, but what about in like other settings when it's like I'm forced to be around them? Am I like civil? Is it like
Yeah, no, I think you're like a kill 'em with kindness kind of person. Like you'll go out of your way to make sure that no one can ever accuse you of being mean, but like that doesn't necessarily mean you like people.
yeah, very true. um we're so close. I'm at 18 minutes and 40 seconds. So it's another question. What is it like about that works like with us specifically like being friends? Like what's something you think works really well? Is like a reason that you could say like you can see us like being friends for a while. Like
Um, I think that we balance each other out. Like, I think that I'm super type A, organized. Like, I have a set schedule and a routine that I stick to. Whereas, like, you're kind of more, like, flexible, go with the flow, like, spontaneous, like I said. But we relate to, like, the same sort of, like, jokes. And, like, I think we're both, like, the sarcastic assholes of, like, the friend group. Like, I think we take turns on, like, who's, like, the top dog, like, day by day. Um, and I think that like there are like very few people where I can like joke around with and be sarcastic with and not have to worry about like actually hurting their feelings, which is like I don't know. I think that's just like funny. Like I can roast you all day about something, and like you can roast me too, but like I'm not actually like offended, and I know that you're not actually offended either.
yeah,
And
one of the
I think
few people.
I think it just like works, you know. Like, I can be like, oh, shut up, Meg, like, one ball, but, like, you know that, like, I'm not actually upset with whatever you said.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you. That's all I need.
I feel like I just gassed you up enough to last, like, 3 years.
You did? Okay, wait. You're fine. Okay. Okay, so just, like, say your name and, like, how you know me. You're getting stage fright? Hello?
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me when you started recording.
Yeah, I am right now. Say your name and then how you know me.
Okay, my name is Sky Fabrizio, and I know Megan from elementary school. We met in 2nd grade at Madison Exploratory School, and we went to school up until our senior year of high school.
Good times. Okay. What was, like, as far as you can remember back to way back when, what was your, like, first impression of me?
Oh, man. So we were in 2nd grade. I remember you and Hannah, your sister, had come from somewhere else. You had, like, transferred in. Oh, you came late. Like, so most people came in 1st grade, but you guys came in 2nd grade. And Hannah was in 1st grade, right?
Yeah.
And I just remember how different you two were from each other. But, like, standout qualities, I don't know, I thought you were nice. Like, you guys were both pretty friendly. But, like, when you're that young, I don't know, I feel like we were not really doing anything, you know?
Yeah. When would you say, like, you and I became, like, friends?
Oh, I remember, yeah, we both rode the bus together, and one of the first times I remember us, like, hanging out, we had, it was, like, after we had to do some project, and we rode the bus on together, and everybody on the bus had all their posters, and I remember I, like, got off the bus with you at your house, so we must have somehow become friends over the course of that day or something, and then the bus driver, I think, wasn't supposed to let me off at your house because I didn't have so many time for my mom, but he did anyway. That's, like, our earliest memory, I think.
I forgot even riding that bus. That's so weird.
I know.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
And it was so long. Like, for our town being that small, that was like a 3-hour bus ride.
It's because we had kids from, like, every district. It's supposed to be, like,
right.
one. Okay, what in our friendship, like, younger years, like, what, is there anything, you can remember I would do that would, like, really annoy you? I'm sure there's a million things.
Shit. Okay. I guess it wasn't really something that annoyed me, but something that was just, like, different was that how, like, musically inclined everyone in your family is. Like, how everybody would be like, oh, let's sing karaoke. And that was the thing on the bottom of my list that I would never want to do. And so I was like, oh, my God, I do not want to go sing karaoke or, like, you know, just, like, sing in any kind of outlet. But you guys, like, love doing that. So I guess it wasn't really, like, something that, like, a quality that annoyed me. Like, we were, like, really good friends.
Yeah.
You know, like, and we were really young, so it was, like, there wasn't really anything that, well, I don't know, there might have been things you didn't like about me, but there wasn't really anything that stood out to me.
How about, like, since, like, like, through high school and to now? Like, can you think of anything? Or, like...
now there's a ton of things that annoy me.
Thank you.
Honestly, I don't think I would know, like, if you gained other qualities that would annoy me. Like, I know we've, like, hung out since then, but, like, when we were at the beach house, it seemed pretty similar. Like, the only thing that annoys me now is, like, that I don't know some of the people who you're talking about, you know, where it's just like, oh, man, like, you know, when you feel out of the loop.
Yeah. That's how I feel with this new little puppy and Jacob. That's how I feel with the new puppy.
I know. Well, that's how I felt. I was like, oh, I guess I have a puppy now.
So you were were saying like your first impression like way back at Madison was like I was just like nice or friendly. Like how would you say that changed throughout like our friendship?
Well, I think you've still stayed nice, but one of the qualities that I noticed about you is that you would really like you would like to be involved with everything. So I you sometimes stretch yourself too thin almost, where you would be in dance and you'd be doing softball, and then it was like you never had any time like just for yourself, and you really liked doing all those things, but then it was like like your room would be the thing that would suffer negatively because of it, just like changing all the things that you were doing. And I think it's something that like now you've learned how what am I trying to say? Like now you've learned how many things you can handle at once, or like, okay, I'm going to finish this and then start that, instead of like, okay, let's do 20 things all at once and I've got to do this at this time. Like now you understand like when you need a break,
Yeah. Talk about my room. How was my room?
Oh, it was a disaster. It looked like a tsunami had come through it and ripped things off walls and knocked everything down, and there was just so much junk in there. It was like, why do you need 20 dolls or like little things from vending machines, or 50 million seashells from every single trip you take into the beach?
Yeah. It was rough. You'd be happy to know.
Or a computer in the corner that hadn't been turned on in like 10 years.
Literally. That PlayStation 1.
Yeah. And then eventually you added like those under the bed totes.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped things a little bit, but you didn't have time to clean it. So it was just like clothes. That's a lot of it. I feel like we're clothes. Where it was just, okay, dirty softball clothes go here, and then dance clothes, we'll take those, and then do it all over again the next day.
You'd be happy to know I'm in my very clean room right now. I just cleaned it. It's beautiful.
I'm proud.
Okay. So just like traits in general, what would you say what are like a couple traits like you think of me having, and like what are the stronger ones of those?
I would say very motivated or determined. I feel like every time you have a goal, you will do whatever it takes to reach that goal. And like we said before, like sometimes like you're stretching yourself too thin, but it doesn't matter. Like you have this goal and you're going to get there regardless of any other negative consequences. Like in, let's see, other characteristics. You're really easy to get along with. Like you are able to, like, not change yourself, but like you're able to get along with people of all different backgrounds and find something that you can relate to with them. Let's see, what else? I would say you're messy, but apparently that's changed.
It has changed.
And, okay, so you're actually very organized. Despite your room, like, you keep all of the, like, for school at least, and probably work too, you're very organized, and you know where everything is and what needs to be done at a certain time. So, like, strategically organized.
Strategically organized.
Yeah. Put that on your LinkedIn.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay, what's your, like, favorite thing about me and, like, our friendship?
Well, you're just a really good friend in like, multiple different ways. You're always, like, looking out for me and for other friends, too, and you're willing to go, like, above and beyond to, like, surprise people or just, like, make sure that if they're having a bad day that you can change it if there's any way that you can. Also, you're very thoughtful, and like if you see something at the store that you know somebody would like or something, or you just know that, on Saturdays or whatever, this person is like a alone or something, like, I'll text them and see if they want to hang out and get coffee or something. You're just, like, caring. So you're just an overall good friend.
Nice. You're gonna get me real hyped up to see you next week, and I'm gonna see you, and you're gonna be a jerk.
Yeah, I'll be really mean.
You're like, replay this interview for you. Interesting. Let me see. I kind of asked you this. So just like, what are some points of like how would you say, like, how would you describe me differently, just like middle school versus high school versus now? Like, what are just like a few?
So I feel like in elementary, middle school, high school, and now 4 different time points.
Yeah.
Let's see. In elementary school, I feel like we were just like goof offs, kind of. Like we were just like always cracking up and making jokes but still getting things done. But we were more carefree, I guess. And then in middle school, I feel like for you that was when it was like, okay, like you're like, I'm motivated to get really, really good at softball. Like, you're going to do the sliders, and then on to, Menace and all the other ones. So that, and dance, and I feel like you're involved in some other stuff, too. I'm not even remembering what we were in, NJHS, a bunch of stuff. But I think during middle school, that's when, like, your classes just get a little... like, you actually have some stuff to do outside of school, and then, like, you were busy with all of that, where you were still carefree, but it was like, okay, there's, like, more stuff that you have to do, and so maybe more stressed. I don't know the word to pin on it. More, like, busier, I guess. And then high school, maybe, so I bet in high school, we were busier even than middle school, but I think it's easier when, like, you can drive yourself everywhere to go do things. You're less dependent on other people.
Yeah.
So I think it was, also I think we found our crowd more in high school than in middle school. Because, like, when we transferred over, that's always kind of hard.
Yeah, middle school was just us.
Yeah, exactly.
There, but it was just us.
And then high school, I feel like both of us, we were surrounded by good people, and so then you were involved in more than you were in high school or in middle school, but then it was all more enjoyable, and you were better at time management skills, like to fit it all in and to enjoy it the whole entire time. Like, it wasn't as stressful. It was more like a fun thing to go hang out with those people in each club, in choir, and you had so much in high school, like encore and all of that. And then now, I think you're still involved in a lot, like, for your sororities.
Yeah,
you're in 2, right?
It's definitely less than in high school, but I think also because our high school was so small, like, it was like you could do everything.
Yeah.
And here, I feel like I don't know. It's kind of like...
You're in less, but still just as busy.
It's true. I mean, it's way more school, but as far as, like, extracurriculars, I feel like... I don't know. I mean, even, like, when I came back for Christmas the first year, and, like, we were all joking about, like, I was kind of, like, had a stick up my ass in high school, and then I was like, hey, like, partying at Syracuse, like...
Yeah, so I guess, now you kind of let loose now and we're in college, but still involved. But in your free time now, you're like going out with people and being more social outside of clubs. Whereas in high school, I feel like we were always social with the people who we were in the clubs with, which isn't always true in college. Like, they're different friend groups.
Yeah, definitely. So taking it out of like friendship, but just like me, I'm gonna go into like work kind of stuff. So obviously in high school I had like a couple like lame little jobs, and then I like nannied and whatnot, Top golf. But in general, thinking broader than that, and hopefully I'm gonna have a job. What do you think I'm good at, or like traits about me that are good that could transfer into like the work world?
Well, I already kind of mentioned goal-oriented, so I think that will play well into marketing. Like, they always have a goal, and you're organized, which also plays into that. So you'll be able to ideally reach the goal for them quicker. And I remember when you were doing your internship, they didn't realize, I think just because we're young and we're like good at technology, that you were going like, and also because you're like smart, that you were going like 10 times faster when you had the one intern start from A and then you start from Z and work your way backwards. You like made it to C or whatever before the A person did.
I was so pissed.
But it was like, okay, clearly you're really good at being efficient, you know? See, I'm trying to think what else. I feel like you have a lot of qualities that are good for a business major, you know? And I already brought up social. Like, you'll be able to work well in collaborative teams, which is what a lot of marketing is. And, let's see.
How would you say, like, I guess more so high school would be the most relevant, but how would you say, in general, I handle, like, poor performance, like, with myself?
How you handle poor performance?
Like, if I don't perform well on something, like, how do I handle that internally? Like, does that make sense?
Oh, well, that's, like, a hard question, because we had A's always, so there wasn't really a time where it was, like, well, I guess, like, there's tests that we did bad on, or, like, you did bad for us, but it was still, I don't know, I think you always knew to either really study hard on it, and if, say a test slips through your fingers or something, you would just study even harder the next time. I feel like there were never any make or break test scores that you had failed or anything. That's like a hard question when most of your stuff was good.
I was trying to think of like situations, and like the time I remember being most upset, I guess, with that in high school was with
Karochi?
No, was with
Carter?
What the heck was that scholarship that Tia and Alex won?
Oh, the Betcher?
No, not the Betcher, the other one. Hurlman.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because, like, me and Cassie and those two had made it to the finals, and then I didn't get it, and I just remember being, like, upset. But, I don't know.
Right, and that was really annoying because people make the judgment on that large sum of money off of, what, like a 5-minute interview? Yeah. A 10-minute interview?
Yeah.
Ugh. I feel like you handled it like a normal person would. Like, you weren't, like, breaking things or anything, but it was, like, you know, I feel like you handled it healthily, you know? I think you vented and got out your frustration and didn't just, like, hold it in, but then let it go once it was, you know, let it go and then looked into different scholarships or different ways to pay for college.
Yeah. Okay, so outside of even, like, school, just, like, with people or with anyone, like, how would you say I handle conflict?
I feel like you kind of avoid conflict. Like, it's something, like, you're not really, like, a yeller or anything like that, and, like, other than family. But I feel like everybody's a little different with their family, but I feel like out in the world, it's like if there's conflict, you'll just kind of, like, try and ease the situation and, like, kind of leave, you know? If it depends on the conflict, I guess, but I'm trying to think of any situations. Yeah. Like, I know, like, small falling outs you and I have had, even then it's kind of like, okay, let me tell you why I'm upset, and then, like, we'll leave and take time to process it, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's never like full-blown crazy, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's more venting. I think that's how you deal with a lot of it.
That makes sense. I feel like I still do that now. Even like I just like to. I don't know. I'm much more like tell it to your face kind of like I'm mad. And this
Yeah,
is why.
but I feel like I think that's normal though, isn't it? Like
No.
I would much prefer to talk to somebody like that than have
I know
somebody
you
scream
would.
at me.
That's why we're friends.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
true.
So like with that, like last question, what do you think it is that's like allowed us? You kind of like said this before, but like if you were to like pick one thing or like I don't even know, you could even just tell me like one moment you remember like you think of where you were like you knew we were going to be good friends, but like what's something that you think like allowed our friendship to last like so long?
What do you mean, like a quality that you have, or
It could be
just like a memory I have, or like an experience that we have together that
whatever you want,
like we're never going back?
Yeah, I guess even like when you think about like our friend, we've been friends for so long. Like when you think about like us and like I don't know, I guess all the memories and things that we've had, and like we have like changed throughout the years and whatnot, and our like rough patches. But like with all of that, like I guess what's a quality you think that's allowed us to like still be friends today?
Oh man, well, I think we're just both easy people to get along with, and like all of the other qualities that I've brought up about you, and like how you're such a good friend. I might not always reciprocate the same like great qualities, but I think it's just like it makes we're pretty compatible. Like when you both don't, like if you both deal with conflict in a way that's not like crazy screaming, like okay, let's just both tell each other like what we don't like about the situation, and we're both like in a lot of the same clubs. We both view school in the same way, or like we both have the same goal. Like it's easy to have like a friend help you reach those goals. And then like an event that I think of for a friendship, I think what really brought us together are just when we were young was just bike riding all around town. Like I feel like we hung out before that, and we would play Rock Band and Guitar Hero, and that was a lot of fun too. But I think when we like started bike riding to the pool and riding like 10 miles a day on our bikes across town as kids, I feel like that was just something that, like when you have that much time and you're just like exercising together and just talking about things, like you just grow close, you know?
Yeah. I definitely think that too. I even talked about that in another part of this project about it's like childhood and like things that are like important. I had to make like a map of my childhood, and I put the river walk through it in the river, and I was like, I was on that thing every day. That's when I think of us hanging out. And it was kind of like the first time that we were really like, it was like, oh, we can go by ourselves. And like,
Exactly. It was like safe enough from like creepy people, not from like bears or anything, but it was safe from cars, and yeah, you could just go be a kid, but be alone. Ugh.
Good times. Okay, well,
yeah.
we got 24 minutes almost, so that's perfect.
Oh, good.
So basically, I'm like doing this. It's like this weird project for a class, but I had to interview like my parents and like friends and all these random people. But I have to interview you just about like, I guess just like the years that you were my coach and like different traits and qualities and such about me. Cool?
Shoot, go ahead. This is on the record?
Yeah.
Do I have to raise my right hand and anything like that?
No.
Okay. So I can lie. All right.
Okay. You don't have to lie. I mean, you'll be fine. I know I was your favorite. It's fine. Okay, so way back when, like first year of Fusion, like what was like your first impression of me, like as a player and like as a person? Was that different?
My first impression of you was that you had some talent, but I was really impressed with your desire and your drive. I could tell that you took it very serious, and I thought that you were a kind of person who was devoted and wanted to win a lot. So that was what appealed to me the most about you.
Because you also like to win a lot.
Yes.
Winning. What are like some qualities like going off of that about me that like made me like a good player and like a good teammate and just like also like someone to coach?
Well, I guess off the top of my head, I just always thought that you set a good example for people. I thought that you were a leader by your actions and not just your words. So I thought that was probably one of your best qualities that you had when you played for me was, um, you know, as you know, things were tough at times, but you really never complained, even in the crappy times. So I just thought that innate quality of being a leader just by your actions, was one of the best qualities. Is this a plural question? Do I need to name more?
Sure.
I can.
Yeah.
All right. Obviously, competitiveness, which is something that's very important to me, not as important to some people, but and what we were doing obviously was important. You were very competitive. I could tell that. You held yourself to a very high standard. You'd get upset with yourself before you get upset with others. So I could tell that you were a success-driven person. That was important. But you were also the team ahead of yourself. So those are 4 things I thought were some of your better qualities.
Is there anything that I would do like wrong repeatedly or like that would annoy you?
I wouldn't say it annoyed me. I think one of the things that took away from your game, if there was you would, when you weren't doing well, you would work yourself into a frenzy, and sometimes you were ineffective because you would get so upset with yourself. You internalize things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my other questions was like, how would you say I dealt with like poor personal performance, which was obviously not the best.
Not the best. But, I mean, it was for a good reason, but yeah, you did not do well with that.
Do you think it was different with like the team performance as a whole though? Like I obviously would get really mad at myself when I wasn't performing, but like if the whole team was doing bad, did I handle that the same, better, differently?
I think it took more to get you to that point of being upset. I think you were, because of your leadership style, you would try to bring the team up. I mean, you would not get as upset with them as quickly as you would get upset with yourself.
Yeah.
So your threshold for that was higher.
Mm-hmm. So like for you as my coach, like how would you say like having me and like coaching me was overall, like with those qualities? Like was I like respectful most of the time? Was it like tough to coach me? Like
no, it wasn't tough to coach. The only thing tough about coaching you is when I couldn't coach you no more. So no, it was not tough at all, and you were very coachable. Because when I was speaking to you and trying to fix something, you were always looking me in the eye, so I could always tell that you were taking it serious and you were processing what I was saying. And you may have gotten upset with me, but you always maintained your composure when I was talking to you, even when you didn't like what you were hearing. So you were a very coachable person, and you brought a lot of attributes to the team that that we needed: the leadership, keeping people calm, you just kind of had a way to. You stayed very focused, and a lot of people seen that in you, and they stayed focused. So I hope that answers your question.
it does. Would you say like does my personality differ when I was on the field and like off the field? Is it different at all?
Um, well, it was kind of a three thing. I mean, when you were physically on the field, yes, it was different. But when you were in the dugout, and it was a little different still. Like, although you were focused and you were cheering, um, you had a lighter side to you, and you could kind of keep things lighter if things weren't going well. At times, if you felt like we'll get out of this, I could see, you know, you didn't panic usually for the team, and that kind of kept things well. And then when you were outside of the field, you were very jovial and very, um, easygoing, very social person, obviously. So it was kind of like a trifecta. On the field, you were like very focused and serious, and there was no joking around. In the dugout, when things were going fine, you would joke around, but then when you get outside the dugout and we weren't playing, you were like very joking around. You were always laughing and having a good time.
My default behavior.
Yeah.
Like, so with the leadership type stuff, with you saying like leading by example and that kind of stuff, would you say that was like generally like kind of accepted by like the 3 different teams, or was there like a time when that wasn't really working out, or that you can recall?
No, it worked out 95% of the time. There were, I'm sure, and I never was told this, but I could tell by some of the girls' reaction your last year that you took, a leadership role, and some of the girls kind of felt like, why she's so serious, or who is she to, like when you tell girls, let's go, get it together, So, I mean, you were doing the right thing, don't get me wrong, but I think your leadership style was effective 95% of the time. And if 5% of the time it wasn't, it's just because people didn't know your role yet, and they didn't understand, how you fit into the team and what you'd been through to establish that type of position on the team. The girls who were with us for 2 to 3 years, they knew it, and they didn't have an issue with it, and they were just like, well, Megan does as she says and not just as she does. So I think those girls had figured out that you kind of had me figured out, and they kind of followed you. The newer girls just didn't really know what your role was yet, and it didn't make it ineffective. It just made it not work at first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's a long answer to a short question.
No, it's good. I'm wondering, like, over the course of those 3 years, like, would you say, like, what's, like, some changes, or were there any that you saw in me, like, as a player and, like, just as, like, a person, too, from that first year of 16s through the last summer I played with you?
Yeah, I mean, your first year, obviously, you were a little more reserved because you didn't know me. And you were much more of a quiet leader. But as the years and the time went on, you became a leader by example, and you also became a vocal leader. You would hold girls accountable. That's one thing. I seen your leadership style kind of evolve from not just by example, but also you became a vocal leader as well.
Yeah. So what about, like, because I was never really, I feel like I was like the only one for a couple years of like that wasn't really looking to go to college to play. Would you say that affected, like, well, one, like having me on the team, was that like any different, or like, I don't know, how is that as a coach when like everyone else was wanting to go on and I was just kind of like there? Did that like affect like how hard I worked, would you say, or anything like that?
No, it didn't affect anything. The fact that I knew you weren't looking to play college ball, but you still gave 100% all the time. Your performance dictated your success, and it dictated my role that I wanted you to play on the team. You know, if there would have been another girl that wasn't playing college ball and she wasn't as success driven as you, then you know her playing time probably would have been affected. Um, but the fact that you weren't going to play college ball didn't matter to me at all. I know that I needed you on the field because of your physical talents, and I also wanted you on the field a lot because of your leadership.
So like taking like all of that off the field, like what are things are like, I don't know, what do you think about like me, like obviously I'm at college not doing softball, but like going into the workforce and that kind of thing, like what are some of my like stronger attributes that I could transfer from like those softball days into the workforce? Like,
Well, I think first of all, a big one would be adaptability. I think you're going to adapt very well because not just when you played for me, but you played for coaches of different styles and techniques. Um, I think that, or I'd like to think, I mean, you already had discipline in your life because you have a strong family focus, and your family just kind of, you know, do things the right way. But I think that you did take some discipline away from that, from the team, and I think that discipline will help you a little bit. And I think learning how to deal with diverse attitudes and opinions will help you. And we had some diverse attitudes and opinions on our team. You know, you look at Shanks and you look at Chloe and you look at Joe, you know, so we had, you know, some diversity there, obviously, with people's personalities. And I think that helped you or will help you.
yeah, definitely. What about, this is like not in a not a bad way, but like things of like, because you coached Hannah and I at the same time. So
Yep.
coming from like the same household, and like obviously we played together a lot and then not for a couple years, but like what were some, I don't even know, like some of the bigger differences between us, or like how would you like as a coach like coach us differently, or I guess kind of approach us differently?
Well, honestly, at first I was a little taken back by the polar opposites that I thought you were. I thought y'all were just total polar opposites. I mean, Hannah could care less if the sky was falling, and did not take it seriously, and never really showed me that she got upset when we lost or when she did something wrong. I mean, I knew she did, but her emotions were very inward, and yours were very outward.
Yeah.
And she was not as coachable as you, so that was kind of a challenge for me. So one of the biggest things was for me to realize, and I didn't realize it quick enough, was I had to coach you two completely different. And that's probably one of the big turnoffs with Hannah, is it took me a long time to realize that. So two very different people. I didn't do a good job of realizing that quick enough, but I guess the big thing is, you know, inward, outward comment that I made.
Yeah. Okay, what's like of the 3 years, like what's a time that like, can you remember like any specific moment or something, or like a particular game that like, I don't know, when you think of like me playing with you, that like you think of?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think of a
Now
very
I'm nervous.
specific time.
What?
It was when we were in the state championship, and we were warming up, and you were having a terrible warm up, and you came in the dugout before the game even started, and you were crying because you were like, I suck, I couldn't do anything right, da, 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 da. And I told you, you need to get yourself together, we're about to play a game, I need you in the game, and you wouldn't stop crying. So I had to change the lineup, take you out of the game, and you cried on and off to the third inning. I remember that. And then I told you, you need to get your shit together because we're going to need you in this game. You're going to play a role in this game. And if you don't get your crap together, I can't count on you and your team can't count on you. And you did. And you came in the fourth inning and hit a double and scored 2 runs, and it actually put us ahead, and we went on to win the game.
I hate that that's what you think of.
Well, I know that, but there is good in that. I mean, that shows that you were so emotionally invested. It shows that you composed yourself eventually, and it shows that the big thing about it is you learned how to be comfortable being uncomfortable,
Yeah.
So, and that's just one thing that stands out to me because it was such a profound thing. But I mean, there's a lot. Other than that specific, if I sit here and thought about it, I could tell you, many other things. But overall, I guess what overall stands out to me is just that I always knew that I could count on you to bring your A game all the time, even when you weren't going well. You always gave it 100%. And there might be one other person on our team that I could say that about in 3 years. So, I guess overall, if someone said, if you had to sum up Megan Basicio in the 3 years you played, I'd say she's a gamer. She would bring her game every single inning, every single pitch, literally every single pitch. She was there and she was ready. She was always in the game. So.
This is making me miss softball.
I miss the hell out of softball.
I'm going to save this recording, and then the next time you roast me about the Yankees, I'm going to play it. He does like me. It's okay.
Well, at least the Astros won, so don't feel so bad.
Honestly, I was like, okay. You can have this one. It's been rough over there. They needed a win.
They've had a rough year, and yada. So.
But, baby bombers are coming back, so.
Yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
When they see who's their coach. Have they hired a new coach?
I don't think so.
Yeah, well.
I called that. I called my dad's like, no, they're not. I was like, no, they need to fire him.
Why? They weren't even supposed to be in the playoffs this year.
Okay, but we did make it to the playoffs, and then he just leaves people in way too long. CC starts getting rocked. He's like, I'll leave him in 2 more innings till we fall behind and then pull him.
Well, I know, but that can be corrected. But, I mean, what about all the good that he did this year? Forget that. He made a mistake.
This year, though, he's been there for how many years? It's been 9 years.
Oh, I don't know.
And we haven't even made the playoffs any of those years.
Yeah, well, I do not keep up with the Yankees unless it's them losing in the playoffs. That's the only time I keep up with it. So.
Thanks. Okay, last question.
All right.
Just not even just softball, but life. What do you miss about me?
I miss your laugh. And I just miss being around someone who's competent, who is real, and they're just, I miss that I just know that if I go to Megan, I'm going to get the truth. Even if I don't want to hear the truth, she's going to tell me. So, I guess those are the big things. You're a very competent person. Even though, I mean, let's be honest, you weren't a stud at softball.
No.
But your desire, you willed yourself to be a good player.
Yeah.
So I just miss being around you in that aspect, to watch someone just outwork everybody else. Hard work trumps talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Take Haley's talent and my hard work and you have an Olympic athlete, maybe.
look where you're at. Look where Haley's at. So.
True. Very true.
I'm sure she's high as a kite right now somewhere.
Okay. Hello.
Hey,
This is a little puppy here.
this is Ian.
It's action.
Action.
God,
Ian
Ian.
Action St. Clair.
Already fucking up. Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. What was your first impression of me?
I knew that you were a very energetic person. You definitely talked a lot, and I do remember you made jokes and stuff right off the bat. So I'm a big fan of like setting the tone immediately for a group, just because I think we covered this in class, but I think there's the task tension and team tension. So the faster we can get the team tension down and accomplish the task, the better. So I'm a huge fan of like just going out and establishing the atmosphere of the group immediately. And you definitely did that in terms of like making jokes and talking to people and stuff. And I knew we would get along.
Look at us now, interviewing each other. Okay. What about so that's like in the meeting. What about just in class?
In class?
Did you like even know who I was before we got put in the same group together?
No.
Great. Got my hair done for nothing. So rude.
I do remember seeing you in class, and I remember you were talking to the people around you. I was like,
I have a lot of friends.
Yes. So I'm like the complete opposite of that. Like, no friends here.
Loser.
Pretty much. That's what my nickname should have been in class. Loser.
So good.
But I remember you talking to people in class, and I just thought, yeah, cool. I had no opinion on it because I was in class just to get knowledge.
Knowledge. So did that initial impression, did that change at all when we were working together?
Yeah, I actually thought that because you were socially focused, it was going to be less task focused, but I was pleasantly surprised to realize that was not the case. That was a healthful balance between the
so
two
nice.
areas. Yeah, no problem.
What did you like about working with, elaborate on that? What did you like about working with me? Did I hold my weight in the group? How was...
Yeah, so you definitely held your weight in the group. And one thing that I really hate in group members is when they're blatantly trying to get less work so they have less to do, because it's just shoving workload on everyone else. But you were very eager to just do a fair share and even take up some of the burden as well. So that was really good. As well as not going from one side to the other in terms of emotional balance throughout the group. It's like a poor description, but when we're meeting versus when we're actually presenting versus brainstorming and all that, there was a lot of consistency.
We got 3 carts. We have to...
What about 3 laptop carts?
Great.
Wait, I'm at work, right? 3 laptop carts?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna go do one of them, or 2. I'll try and do 2 of them.
All right, well, leave some scraps for me.
I'll do my best.
Thanks.
Should I just follow you? Can I follow
Yeah.
you?
You want to just bring the...
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just bring up laptop carts too.
Can't leave my
So
stuff
there's...
here.
I can... if you go to 101
Mhm.
and start working on those carts, I will put 003 away, and then I'll come.
Cool. Alrighty.
All right, interview on the move.
What
Where are we
talking
going?
about? What? What are we taking? 001? Okay, we're going to 101, I think,
Okay.
which is this way.
Okay. So, continuing. Is there anything throughout the project that I did that annoyed you? Just besides being there.
Besides being there, not that much. That was really the main source of conflict. I'd say for the whole group, not just me. We all talked a lot of shit behind your back. Honestly, we really didn't get much done because we got so into the roasting part. But let me think. No, not really. I can't really think of anything, which is a good thing. But I do remember you just you did your work. You did good. You did a good job, and you were willing to kind of go above and beyond for it. So that's what I thought was the most important part, because a lot of times, just because of scheduling and with 6 other people or with 4 other people on the team, it gets hard to find a good time for everyone. So in that sort of case, just being willing to go out of your way to really get work done is essential. I'm coming to get the laptop cards. Yeah, here we are. So we're doing a mobile interview.
Stuff is put into bays, but not in order.
Oh yeah, I'll just reorganize it.
Okay, so that's good. Would you say I was like generally like pretty easy or like hard to work with?
Very easy to work with. Not a problem at all. And like I said before, you do your work and you're responsible for your own part. And while other people like are balancing a lot of other things and sometimes don't get their things done on time, you were consistent in the way you did it. So I was happy about that because it meant less work for everyone else, especially in terms of catching up, because what a lot of people do is prioritize maybe one class, and you definitely did not do that. You had a good balance, and you made sure that you were fully responsible for all of your parts. I hope that made sense.
Would you say like just the high energy thing and like kind of coming off strong, like that didn't clash with you, but did you see that being problematic at all with anyone else, like in our project?
The high energy thing never really clashes with me. I like it because I think it's essential to having fun in a group, because like no one wants to be in a group where you're just gonna get judged by your other group members, because that always sucks. But that's why, like, I guess I might come off as a person who might be pissed off if someone is like too energetic or enthusiastic. But in my social style, I actually match a lot with like expressive characteristics, because that's like my go-to flexing style. I just find that's really important.
This is so interesting. You're listening to our first date. Bye, Liv.
Oh no. So.
Okay. What could you see me doing as a career?
So you're just taking my question.
No, I just don't know what to do with my life, so I'm asking you.
Well, as the foremost expert in this area, it depends. What kind of area are you looking at?
Any area.
Janitorial services, really. Really.
Well, no, like what, like based on like my personality, like I mean, what if in like 20 years we came back to the reunion and someone was like, "Oh, did you hear? Megan Bosisio now does this." Would that be like, that's not surprising, but it's like wild?
I couldn't see you in like a financial services thing, because it is soulless.
But how out there could we get? Like, if someone's like, did you see, like, Megan Bosisio is, like, the new Ellen. Like, she has her own show.
I could definitely see that. I think something public would be really cool. Something, like, as, like, a figure, in a way, I think could be a really good match. Just
People
because...
should look up to me, is what you're saying.
In some ways, yeah. But I think it's important, or I think as someone with, like, high energy personality, and just like a willingness to have fun, but also like can be grounded at times, it's probably a good path to take. Although like pretty risky, because a lot of people don't make it. But I wouldn't be surprised if I heard you were like a talk show host or some sort of entrepreneur, something like that. I feel like I would not be surprised at all to see that.
So nice.
Yeah.
Okay, if you had to describe me in 3 words, what would they be? So nice.
Let's see. Enthusiastic would be one. Personable and balanced. Those would be
Interesting. What would you say my spirit animal is?
On the topic of professional traits, I would say your spirit animal. I don't know a lot about spirit animals.
Like, if I was an animal, just based on spirit, what would
Oh,
I be?
that clears things up. I would say you could be like an otter, maybe.
For what reason?
I remember.
No, you have to explain.
Otters are pretty neat.
Oh, I'm neat now. You
Neat.
didn't use
I
that
just
as a
need
word to
chickpeas on.
describe me. Neat. Add neat to
28.
list.
Where's laptop 30?
What do you think are like the biggest things based on, so like obviously we've worked in like a fun setting and halfway professional, not really. What would be like the best things that I should like make sure I carry with me like onto like an actual career?
Ooh. Just like relentlessly striving for success would be a big one. Just understanding that like the only thing that represents you to someone who doesn't know you is the things you've done. So really just giving it your all. Similar to the way that like the Imagination Throwdown was. Like no one would really get what we were doing unless we did a great job at it. So if we're gonna do a great job, we might as well be the best. And with that comes a lot of sacrifice in terms of maybe staying up late or maybe working through conflict with a group. But like your work represents you, so you should make sure that the work you create is the best possible work you can do. And I thought that was important, and that's what I'm pretty like obsessed with when it comes to school projects, because I only want A's, and I get pissed off when I don't get A's. I did not get an A on a fucking exam.
He's coming at you.
I didn't get an A because of a.
I did not get a good grade on that exam, and I'm not happy about it. I studied a lot, but it's over. So yeah, that's canceled forever.
What was I gonna say? Sorry.
I need to think of another question.
Can I think of one?
Yeah.
Do you pause it? No. So, have you done an internship or anything like that yet?
Yeah, I did one in New York City this past summer, but it was just like at a small media agency. It was almost more like working in a startup, to be honest, because it's like so small. There was like 4 people who worked in the office, and I just did like whatever they needed.
Don't put
But-
the top 3
Wait,
in.
don't put those in there.
Don't put
Don't
the
put
top
those
3
in there.
in. Don't put the top 3 in
They
because
don't
they're all
work.
defective.
Anyways,
16?
What?
What were the ones on top of yours?
You put them in. I don't.
but yeah, it was cool, but I don't think I want to do that.
Why?
It was just like, I don't know. It's just definitely not. It was almost. I was doing a ton of stuff. It was like a lot of Excel. It was just really boring, and like,
Yeah.
I feel like I want to do something where like everyone wants to do something that they love, but also just like I want to be excited about like researching things. Like if I have to research, I hate researching. But if I have to research, I want it to be over, like about something I can like get into at least. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a big like content person, and like I like to see. That's why like the startup kind of idea like is cool to me, but in a different sector, I think I'd be good at it. Because I like to see like the direct result of my actions. That's like a big thing.
I've been
Yeah.
going to argue that.
I feel the same way.
I just hate the argument.
But I could.
The day
Would you ever
of
consider starting your own business?
Oh, I should've, like,
I think I could eventually, like in the future, but it's not going to be soon. Like I could see myself like having like the bootstrapping aspect and like be willing to do that, but not unless it's the right idea, and I don't know what that is right now.
Yeah.
How's your head?
Yeah, I'm fine.
What do they say?
What's the big difference between like working with me and the last group and the group that you're working with now?
Well, I think like 3 out of the 6 members of our last group are in our new group.
Really?
Yeah, I have Joe, I have Courtney, me, and then
How did she get put with Joe?
I don't know. Maybe she just took the worst enemy in. Like
She was like, oh,
and
you
put
didn't
us,
like
put
that?
us together.
Great, that is what you will be doing.
So that's my group. But we really haven't worked together except for every day because we've been working on this Imagination Throwdown number 2 at least 2 hours a day every day.
Same.
Including weekends.
It's
But
weird.
we can't find much time to meet, so we always wake up at 4 a.m. to meet in Whitman and cover this. This is easily one of my most proud projects. I'm so proud of it.
Happy for you.
Thanks.
We'll see if I throw down. Okay, that's hard then. So if it's like the same group.
I would say the difference is it's different with all different people. With every group of people, there's like a completely different dynamic. But I feel like by far here. Let's just let this one close and open. You click down.
You don't like that one? I'm confused.
Okay, let's just go in. No one's called it yet.
There you go.
Yeah, my new group has a very different dynamic. Not so much that I can decide, but I'm worried about the fact that some people in the group have more of a critical and judgmental aspect to them. Like, it's not like they're criticizing ideas, they're criticizing the way people behave, which I think is just completely counterproductive.
Yeah.
Because they make people self-conscious to express ideas, and you end up losing a lot of it because of it. So I noticed that with our group, we did not do that. Like,
Yeah.
we could pitch complete garbage and at least laugh about it. But this other group, there are certain people I wish weren't there. Yeah.
Yikes.
That is the main difference to me.
What do we do with the computers?
Let's bring them upstairs.
Okay.
What would you say? Like, how would you say I handle problems? Like, if there's a conflict, how do I? How do you think I would?
I think you mentioned it earlier, but you tend to diffuse tension through humor and kind of like putting yourself out there. I don't know if you would agree with that, but
Yeah.
I feel like that's the way you would at least diffuse that kind of social tension or that problem tension. But also just systematically working through, I think. Just understanding like you will eventually come to a solution. It's just a matter of time. So it was very apparent to me that you thought that way.
How would you say? Like, do you think I would like succeed in like a faster environment or something? Like,
Yeah, definitely a faster environment. I don't really see a lot of people in our group
working in an office.
No, not
You're
at
like
all.
my nightmare. I can't see people there.
So I don't see a lot of people in our group working in an office. I think that would suck. And then, yeah. But I definitely see you working more in a fast-paced environment. I think as you're expressive, you try to like move things through a lot of the same qualities as drivers. So as a result of that, I think it's just important that you have your voice heard. And in a big company like a Fortune 500 or anything over like 1,000 people, like there's a hierarchy there, and your voice isn't gonna be heard as much. But that's kind of the trade-off. You could go a riskier route, choose a smaller company, and have your voice heard and really go with it. Like if it grows, you kind of grow too. But then there's also a chance that it could fail. Or you could go with stability and a nice paycheck, but you don't really have that freedom of expression that you would at a smaller company. So big company or small company, I feel like no matter what, you would find your space. But I think in terms of expression.
Put your laptop on the chair.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I think in terms of expression, you'd be better off at a smaller company.
Okay.
I don't know if you feel the same way.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know yet.
Do you have any inkling of?
I mean, I have no
Just
idea.
based on the internship, it didn't seem like you.
Well, I could see myself like I'm looking into like advertising, but also just like I don't know if that's it. I could see myself working in like if I'm gonna do marketing like for movies or something to that effect. But I don't know. I just really think it could go any direction.
Yeah.
And like whatever the first direction is doesn't necessarily mean it's like the only direction.
CFS.
Shout out to Fez for being here for this whole interview.
What's the time?
We're very close.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
Thank
So
you.
So if I gave you $5 and told you to change the world, and what would your idea be?
Okay, so our idea was actually really awesome to begin with, but I don't think we have enough time to do it because there are all sorts of external factors that kind of affect it. But we had the idea to. We had to understand the constraints. So one person, all of our group only has $5, but that doesn't mean everyone else doesn't have $5.
Yeah.
Like it's a very reasonable amount to have. So what we were thinking is saying there's not much you can do with $5 with one person, but imagine if everyone were to do it. So we had the idea to contact a news channel, contact Ellen, and say, with $5, we're going to do a small change in this one area. Let's say we want, for just crappy example, we want to clean up the streets. We can buy hefty bags with $5. Someone else can buy trash pickers for $5. Build this whole event around it. All of us only spend $5, but we can make a huge change as a result. And if we can get some sort of chain reaction going, like challenging other people to do it, then maybe we could actually
You should do
only
that.
spend $5, but get everyone to do it too.
Good idea. Do it this weekend.
I mean, we have been.
Yeah. Okay, last
I just
question.
don't think we had enough time to do it.
If 30 years down the road we met and wanted to start a business, would you work with me?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Okay, let's make money.
I think you definitely have some skills that like not a lot of people have, and it's complementary to my own.
Agree.
Yeah,
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here for this interview. I've had a great time.
me too. This is the best.
Thank you.
Let's interview again sometime.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
Ta-ta for now.